All right, guys. So number one should be a problem that you are somewhat familiar with. So that being said, I want you to try and work through all of example one together with your partner. So some things I want to clue you in on. Make sure that you are reading carefully and marking the text as you go through. Remember, we're underlining or circling important pieces of data. We also want to make sure and highlight or squiggle or whatever you want to do the things that it is asking you for, because that is absolutely 100% important. Okay? I know we've done these problems in the past where we just set the two options equal to each other. I want you to try to do it as a system, kind of like what I showed you on warm-up, okay? So do exactly what it says. What do you need to find? Pick a variable for each of those. Make sure you write your two equations, one for laser place and one for tag your it. And then use either substitution or elimination to solve for the information you need, okay? So I'm going to trust you guys to work through it together with your partners. I'm going to give you a few minutes and I'll be walking around, okay? Go ahead. Okay, all right, so I know most of you have at least gotten a good start on this. I want to kind of walk through and just kind of model some thinking for you, okay? So as I'm reading, for a fun outing, your group of friends is going laser tag. There are 2 places in town that offer it. As soon as I read that 2 places in town that offer it, my mind immediately goes to, okay, I'm probably comparing 2 different places, okay? So one place, laser place, charges $10, so I'm going to start underlining here. $10 for equipment and $4.25 per hour to play. The second place, tag your it, they charge $7, so less up front for equipment, but they charge $4.75 per hour to play. And then it asks me a question. That is absolutely essential when it asks me a question. It says, at how many hours of play will the 2 costs be the same? And it also asks me, what will the cost be? So it asks me for 2 things and gives me 2 major pieces of information. So what do we need to find? Well, we need to find the hours that the 2 will be the same. What variable would you like me to make that?
X.
All right, so X.
No, make it H. H as an hour.
All right, I am a man of the people. I can do that. So H is going to be, why is my stylus not working? Hours to make cost same. And then it also asks me for, I'll just say C, the same cost. All right, so it gives me 2 pieces of information that I now need to write equations with. So first is laser place. So again, I'm trying to find C where they're the same. So C equals, how is the cost of laser place made up? Come on, guys. We've been writing equations like this forever. Okay, Joe?
The equipment fee and time per hour.
Yeah, can you tell me specifics?
Oh, okay. Like $10.
Okay, so $10 up front.
And $4.25 per hour.
And remember, X is, no, not X, H, sorry, is the number of hours. Okay, so I have C equals 10 plus 4.25H. And then tag your it, similar to that. Their total cost, C, equals $7 up front plus $4.75 per hour. So now I have 2 equations. This really, you could go substitution or elimination, either one, because you can see my equations look kind of like mirrors of each other, right? But you also see C equals, so you could do substitution. You could graph. I wouldn't suggest it, just because we have decimals and that would get kind of tricky. But we could use substitution or elimination. So which would you like to use?
Do elimination. That's what I try and substitute.
Personally, I would do substitution here. And I'm hearing a lot of people saying the same thing. So, for sake of time today, I'm just going to write use or substitution. Really, or elimination. I don't really care which one you use. What answers did you guys get? I'm not going to go through the process of actually solving it. Okay, I know you guys are good enough to do that. So what answers did we get?
I got 6 hours and it's going to be $35.
Are we in agreement of that? 6 hours, so H equals 6. And then you said the cost was what? $35.50. We in agreement for those answers? Okay, so now I need to put these in context, because if I write H equals 6 and C equals 35.5, that doesn't really mean anything to me. So I need to write it in context, which would be both places would charge $35 at 6 hours. Your sentence may not look exactly like mine, and that's okay. Just as long as you put it in some kind of context about 6 hours of play and it being $35, and that's when the two places are the same. Okay? All right, we're going to skip ahead. We're going to skip the try this and move on to another one. Okay? So these are problems that we're a little more comfortable with. Let's move into something that we may not be as comfortable with. Okay? These are mixture problems. All right, so let's kind of read and work through this together. I'm going to kind of give you a little bit of freedom here and there to work, but I want to kind of help you out a little bit. So it says, at the last Miller's home basketball game, they sold 680 tickets. That's obviously important, right? 680 tickets. They also made $5,040. So there are my two pieces of information, my two totals, if you will. A total number of tickets, 680, and a total amount of money, $5,040. Okay? So you can see right off the bat, we're talking numbers of tickets and total cost. You can figure that out from the very first two sentences. So it says, for statistical purposes, they would like to know how many adults and how many children attended the game. If you know each adult ticket was $8, so that's important. So adult tickets are $8, and each child's ticket was $4. Find the number. So now it's telling me what to do. Find the number of adult and children tickets that came to the game. So go ahead and determine with your groups. I'll give you 30 seconds to determine with your groups what information you need and pick variables for them. Go ahead. Okay, so I put A is the number of adults and C is the number of children. Please be specific here. Don't put A equals adult, C equals child. Because if you put A equals adult, we don't know if that means the price of an adult or the number of adults. It can mean various things. So we need to be specific when we're defining our variables, okay? Because that will help us write our equations. So So the two main things that we're talking about here are number of people or number of tickets and the total cost. So since those are the two things that we're talking about, those are the two equations we are going to write. Okay? So every person has kind of two numbers attached to them. Right? If you're an adult, you have one adult ticket that's attached to you, and you have $8, which is how much your ticket is. That's attached to you. So every person has two numbers attached to them, their ticket number and a ticket price. So let's talk number of people or number of tickets first. So we are still using the same format of total equals everything else. So what is the total number of tickets here? 680 tickets. So 680 tickets. So let's zoom in. So I have 680 tickets total. How are those 680 tickets broken up?
Into adults and children.
Adults and children. How many of each? We don't know. So what should I put here? That's my variables, right? Because right now, A is representing the number of adult tickets. C is representing the number of children's tickets. So I'm just going to put A plus C. Okay, so that's my number of people or number of tickets equation. And then my second equation is all about the money. Okay, for the sake of room, I'm gonna get rid of that just because it was in my way. You guys already have that down. All right, so now let's talk about the money. So again, we're gonna try to do total equals everything else. So what is the total amount of money made? 5,040 is equal to, okay, I'm going to give you a little hint here and then I want you guys to try to write it. So we need the total, so the total number of people is broken up into the total number of adults and total number of children added together. So the total amount of money is broken into the amount of money made on adults plus the amount of money made on children. So I'm going to give you about 30 seconds here. I want you guys to try to write your equation. Go ahead. Okay, so I gave you a couple hints along the way, right? We can't just say 5,040 is equal to 8 plus 4 because that would obviously be 12 and that doesn't work, okay? But I can also not say that 5,040 equals A plus C because remember, A is a number of kids, A is a number of people, C is a number of people. I can't say an amount of money equals a number of people. That just does not make sense. Okay? All right, so how do I determine the amount of money made from adults? Okay, let me put it to you this way. Say you walk into a clothing store and you buy 3 shirts for $10 each. How much money did you spend?
$30.
$30. How did you come up with that total amount of money that you spent on shirts? Yeah, Luke?
3 times 10.
Explain that to me.
You bought 3 shirts and they cost $10 each, so you multiply 3 times 10 and you get 30.
Okay, so if I'm trying to find the amount of money made on a certain product, or in this case, a certain group of people, I need to do the price per, in our case, price per shirt times the number of shirts. So now on our specific problem on the board, what do we need to do to find the amount of money made on adults? The number of adults times 8, because 8 is the price per adult, right? So 8 is the price per adult. How many adults are there? A, right? A, so we're using A. So 8A plus, how do we come up with the money for children? They're $4 each times C children. Can I get a comfort level where you're at with that equation? That equation right there. Comfort level on understanding of that equation. You can give me a number or a thumb. I don't really care. All right. For a first go around, that's pretty good. Okay. All right. What do you think is going to be the best method of solving this? Definitely elimination, right? So let's line it up and eliminate really quick. All right, so we have 680 equals A plus C. And we have, what was it, 5,040. 5,040 equals 8A plus 4C. They are lined up for elimination, so let's eliminate. What's the name of the game with elimination again? Opposites. So I need to force opposites. What's going to be my easiest way to force opposites here? A's or C's?
C.
C's. Probably going to be easiest. So I'm going to leave this bottom one 4C, make the top negative 4C. So I need to multiply the entire top equation by negative 4. So my new equation, can somebody help me out? 680 times 4? 2,720. So I have a negative 2,720 equals negative 4A minus 4C. So done with this one now. So now I'm ready to add down now that I have opposites. So again, 5,040 minus 2,720. Is it 2320? I think it's 2320. Equals 8A minus 4A is 4A. And 4C and negative 4C is gone. Divide by 4. And A equals 580. So what does that mean? What does A equals 580 mean?
580 adults.
580 adults, right? Because A is the number of adults. I also need the number of children. So I'll use one of my two original equations. I'll just use this one that's showing on the board. 680 equals 580 adults. Slide over. Plus C. So just subtract 580 from both sides and it looks like C equals 100. Okay. So then answering in a complete sentence, I would say there were 580 adults and 100 children. At a bare minimum, guys, I at the very least need to see 580 adults and 100 children. I would prefer a complete sentence, but at a bare minimum, you at least need to put labels on them like 580 adults, 100 children. Okay? All right. Go ahead and flip to the next page. I want you to do the try this up at the top. Okay? So go ahead and do the try this up at the top together with your partners. Go ahead. All right, so I start off by finding what they're asking me for and creating my variables for that. It's asking me for a number of hot dogs and a number of hamburgers for inventory, right? If you have ever worked in any kind of retail anything, inventory is super important because after we sell some products, we need to know, okay, we sold this many hot dogs and this many hamburgers at that game because number one, we need to restock, so we need to know how much to order. You don't want to order a whole bunch more food than what you need because it'll go bad. And you also don't want to order too little or not enough food because then you won't be able to serve your customers and make money at the next game. So we need inventory. So we need number of hot dogs and number of hamburgers. So I write my equations. What are the two main pieces of information they give you? They give you some secondary information, but what's the main pieces of information they give you? That's the secondary information.
Oh, how many you sold?
We know number of items sold. What else do we know? The total cost or the total amount of money sold or made. Okay? So those two main pieces of information are what our two equations are going to be built off of. So in the red here, you see my two equations. The first one is based off the number of items. So 245 total number of items is equal to, I just did X and Y. You may have done H and D or some other variables. X is my hot dog. Y is my hamburger. Then my second equation is based on the total amount of money. So the total amount of money of $373.75 is equal to the amount of money made on hot dogs. So again, the amount of money made on hot dogs would be the price per hot dog times the number of hot dogs sold plus the amount of money made on hamburgers, which would be the price per hamburger times the number of hamburgers. At that point, I chose to use elimination, and that's the work that you see here in blue. I chose to match up x's, so I multiply the top equation by negative 1.25. This blue negative 306.25 equation is the result after I multiply by the negative 1.25. I eliminate down, And I end up with y equals 135. Substitute that back into one of my original equations, and I find x equals 110. And then I write my answer in context. You sold 110 hot dogs and 135 hamburgers. Okay, do we have any questions so far? All right, I want to do, we're kind of getting short on time, but I want to do one more together with you really quick because it has a small little curveball that I want you to be aware of, okay? All right, so try to keep up here. It says Sarah wants to mix 100 pounds of breakfast blend coffee that will sell for $25 per pound. So we have an amount and a money value. She's using two types of coffee to mix together. Kona, which sells for $51 per pound, and Colombian, which sells for $11 per pound. How many pounds of each type of coffee should she use? Okay, we can't just dump in arbitrary amounts because we won't get the desired $25 per pound charge. So what are we trying to find here? What's the last statement say? How many pounds of each type of coffee should she use? So what are we trying to find? Pounds of coffee, be more specific. Okay, so I will say K is the pounds of Kona. And then I will say C is the pounds of Colombian. All right, so again, the two things that we're looking at here are number of pounds. So what are the number of pounds of coffee she wants to make? She wants to make 100 pounds, right? So 100 pounds total. And how is she desiring to make that 100 pounds of coffee? She's mixing Kona and Colombian. How much of each is she mixing? K and C, right? That's what we're trying to find. So I would say 100 equals K plus C. You ready for the curveball? Think very carefully before you answer this question. What or how much money is she trying to make? What is the money value of the coffee that she is selling? Think about it before you answer. What is the money value? And I don't want to discourage you from answering, okay? If you're wrong the first time but you're close, we can work towards it, but that's fine. But how much is the money value of the coffee she's trying to sell? Yep, Eliza?
$25 per pound.
$25 per pound. Per pound is essential there, right? So I don't want to write 25. $250? That would be for 10 pounds of coffee, right? 10 times $25 would be $250. Yep. How did you get $2,500? Okay, so this is the curveball. It doesn't flat out tell you the total amount of money that she wants to sell this coffee for. It tells you she wants to sell it for $25 per pound. So if she wants to sell it for $25 per pound and she's selling 100 pounds, the money value of the coffee that she's making is $2,500. That's the curveball. Okay? And if you want to make yourself a little note here, you might just put underneath it 100 times 25. Okay, that's where that number came from. So if you go back and look at your notes later on, you're not confused where that $2,500 came from. So $2,500, that's the total amount of money, is equal to, what's the amount of money of Kona she's putting in?
51 a pound.
51 per pound. How many pounds? K. So we have 51K plus, what's the money value of the Kona she's putting, or sorry, the Colombian she's putting in?
$11
11C. Okay, so there's our system. 100 equals K plus C because that's the amount of coffee she's putting in the pounds. And then we have money value. And don't forget about that curveball. Just because it's $25 per pound doesn't mean we just put 25 equals. Because we need to find the total money value of that. Okay, we could use elimination here. Would probably be the best option. But I'm not going to spend your time doing that. Okay? Alright, the rest of the time is yours for homework. You can go ahead and grab it off today's page.